Is modern medicine helping us live longer and healthier, or is there perhaps a darker, more sinister agenda? Maybe a longer but sicker life? My name is James Lee. Welcome to my channel 5149, where I talk business, politics, and society. And yes, let's explore, are we being poisoned? Legally. Namely, is Big Pharma, Big Food, the mainstream corporate media, and medical professionals acting in concert to spew propaganda in an effort to make us all sick?
It's a brain disease.
It is?
It's a brain disease. The number one cause of obesity is genetics. That means if you are born to parents that have obesity, you have a 50 to 85% likelihood of having the disease yourself, even with optimal diet, exercise, sleep management, stress management.
Now, I'm not a health expert, but I do want to say that Dr. Stanford's claim about obesity being a genetic disease independent of nutrition and lifestyle choices is not scientific consensus. Okay, pulling up Harvard Medical School, quote, "The strength of the genetic influence on weight disorders varies quite a bit from person to person. Research suggests that for some people, genes account for just 25% of the predisposition to be overweight, while for others, the genetic influence is as high as 70 to 80%. So is she really meant to be convincing us that obesity, which was virtually non-existent in 1950, is a result of some kind of quantum leap in genetics and has nothing to do with other factors like dietary changes? For example, the increasing consumption of sugar, highly processed foods, and seed oils.
The drug Wegovy that you inject yourself once a week with something like an EpiPen.
What the medication does,
It's part of a new generation of medications that brings about an impressive average loss of 15 to 22% of a person's weight, and it helps keep it off.
The message from mainstream news is simple: obesity is a disease, take a drug. Turns out, though, it was the drug maker who paid for this quote-unquote news story on CBS's 60 Minutes. Quote, in the 13-minute segment on weight loss drug Wegovy, the only medical experts interviewed by CBS were doctors who had received thousands of dollars in consulting fees and honoraria from Novo Nordisk, a company that just happened to be a sponsor of the broadcast. Cody Stanford received over $15,000 from Novo Nordisk in 2021, the most recent year for which data is available. For auction, obesity doctor will spew medically dishonest narratives for pay. Sold for $15,000. And they wonder why people distrust mainstream corporate news. Quote, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk together have at least 12 more obesity medications in development. Novo Nordisk reportedly spent about $100 million advertising Ozempic last year, and the two companies are spending roughly $10 million annually on lobbying. A primary focus of that lobbying is the proposed Treat and Reduce Obesity Act, which has been introduced in congressional sessions annually since 2012, and which would require Medicare to cover, among other treatments, chronic weight management drugs. I want to acknowledge that these drugs are helpful for some people, but you see the 4D chess game they're playing. Big Food makes billions of dollars selling food that's known to be toxic and poisonous, making millions of Americans sick in the process. They've worked out a little deal with Congress with lobbying money, with funding for the FDA, so that they can continue to sell these foods that have known toxins and are poisonous for the human body. Let's not forget the plethora of food products that are sold in the US but banned everywhere else. Now, after years and decades of this, half of the country is sick. Now Big Pharma gets to play hero. They have these drugs that supposedly magically helps people lose weight. Of course, no one on the 60 Minutes segment mentioned that a third of weight loss came from muscle, bone mass, and lean tissue. That does not sound healthy, but they're making billions selling these drugs to people, including children. At the same time, they are paying doctors to say that obesity is not at all caused by the food that we're eating, it's only genetics. Thus, it would be wrong and inhumane for the government not to subsidize these weight loss drugs. My point is, they've gotten so greedy that at this moment, they are not even satisfied with private money. They want taxpayer dollars to fund this insidious racket. And if you have the gall to question such a racket, you will be labeled a racist. That is unfortunately a page straight out of the 2023 playbook to discredit physicians, activists, and anybody who isn't willing to conform to institutionally endorsed narratives.
incentives explain everything. And there's $4 trillion spent on healthcare, $6 trillion spent on food. And I call it the devil's bargain. The food companies want food to be addictive and they want it to be cheaper. And let me tell you, from seeing inside, there's very smart scientists who know what seed oils do to our dopamine, who know what obviously sugar does to our dopamine, the natural flavors do. Food is literally, and this is not hyperbolic, it is weaponized to be addictive. And obviously there's a lot of lobbying and work to make it cheap. Now, that's making us all sick. The devil's bargain, what the problem is that 95% of healthcare dollars are spent on interventions after people get sick. Healthcare is now the largest and the fastest growing industry in the United States, which is insane, right? And the faster it grows, the worse outcomes it produces. Why is that? You make money when a child is obese. You make money when a child has fatty liver disease. You make money when heart disease goes up.
There is no economic incentive the way the current system is designed to encourage a healthy populace. There is no social incentive. If you are sick, weak, too busy worrying about your own health, you won't have time to worry about the other things the people in charge are cooking up. Pun intended. Now, the solution, I think, is twofold. First, advocating for more honest education about food, and then also dismantling the current perverse incentive structure in place. Callie Means, a former pharma consultant and co-founder of a company that promotes food as medicine, it was him in the TikTok clip we just watched together, spelled out, I think, two reasonable and tangible policy proposals. One, FDA moving recommended added sugar for kids to 0. I don't know, can you believe that the current guidelines actually recommend added sugar as part of a healthy diet? Kind of insane, no? And two, tax money going to subsidizing healthy food before pharmaceutical drugs. Look, I always say in these segments about nutrition, I'm not here to tell you what you should and shouldn't eat. I'm only here to try to inform and ask the questions I think we should all be asking, which is, hey, certain foods that we sell in the US aren't allowed to be sold in any other country. Why? Doctors are being paid to go on national TV to lie about diseases. Why is that happening? Drugs are pushed on us instead of nutrition. Is there a reason for that? Is it to promote healthier living? Or has the system been rigged to allow for legal exploitation of human life in perpetuity? Only when we understand the confluence of all of these things can we truly make informed decisions for ourselves. That's all from me this time. I want to know your thoughts. What's been your personal experience with health and nutrition? I know we all have our own unique experiences, so let's talk about it in the comment section below. If you found this video helpful, please take a second to like it, share, subscribe to my channel, turn on that notification bell. I hear all the time from people that I don't show up in people's feeds for some reason, so maybe that'll help. And as always, thank you for your time today, and I'll see you next week.